Good evening, everyone. My name is Amarachi Charles, and you are welcome to the
Good evening.
Institute virtual policy dialogue. It's so good to have everyone here. I can see some of our panelists, our special guests. You're welcome, everyone. We're just waiting for a few minutes to give room for other people to join us. Welcome once again, everyone. This is the Africa Polling Institute Virtual Policy Dialogue on deconstructing the Canada rush. We saw a need to have this conversation based on the fact that a lot of Nigerians, there's been this rush to leave the country to seek greener pastures in Western countries. So Africa Polling Institute, we carried out a study in 2020 to find out the reasons why a lot of Nigerians are emigrating to Canada. This study was carried out in 2020, like I mentioned earlier, and today we decided to have a policy dialogue to understand some of the reasons why there has been a rush to foreign countries, to Western countries by Nigerians. So welcome you to this policy dialogue. The essence of this dialogue is to discuss the implications of immigration to our country, economic implications to Nigeria, and also know the way forward. So I'll be handing over to my executive director, who is the moderator for this session, for this policy dialogue, and he'll do the introduction of our panelists and special guests. Thank you very much. You're welcome once again.
Thank you very much, Amarachi Charles. My name is Belly Hua. I want to specially and warmly welcome everyone here today, our special guests, panelists, participants, everyone that has taken out time from their busy schedules to join us in this policy dialogue today. Thank you very much. But just to talk a bit about the Institute before we just shoot on our dialogue for today. Africa Polling Institute is an independent, non-profit, and non-partisan opinion research think tank. And we conduct opinion polls, surveys, social research, and evaluation studies at the intersection of the governance, economic condition, markets, and public life. From the very hard stuff on the economy, policy, democracy, to very soft stuff like sports, like everyday life, like arts and culture. And we conducted this in 2020. The report was released in March 2020. And I'd like to read briefly the preface I wrote at the time when we commenced or when we released this study. So it said, immigration of Nigerians is not a new phenomenon. Nigeria has continued to experience various dimensions and ways in North America for decades. For decades, the United Kingdom and the United States of America were two top destinations for Nigerian migrants. The former owing to our colonial heritage and the latter our model democratic experience. In the last few years, there's been a new trend of Nigerians relocating out of the country to settle with their families in a new destination. Canada has become the new destination of choice. Canada prides itself to be one of the world's most ethnically diverse and multicultural and accommodating nations, owing to its liberal migration policies and large-scale immigration from other countries. Canadian migration policies in the last 2 years have made Canada emerge as an attractive destination of choice by Nigerians compared to the United Kingdom, where its imminent pre- and post-Brexit implications, and the United States of America tightening up on immigration reforms. The trend of Nigerians immigrating to Canada appears to have witnessed a new height and taken a new dimension with respect to the caliber of Nigerians participating in different Canadian immigration schemes. Anecdotal evidence suggests that these categories of Nigerians are not the poor Nigerians. In fact, they are highly skilled, educated, mostly employed, and upward mobile Nigerians who constitute the middle rung of the society. The continued exit of this class of Nigerians would have attendant implications on the country's intellectual and skill base and resultant impact on the country's economic development and sustainability. It is again ground that Africa Polling Institute decided to undertake this study to deepen public knowledge on the motivations for Nigerians immigrating to Canada, which we have tagged Rush. The findings of the study revealed that the top 5 reasons, in bracket, the push factors for the new trend of Nigerians seeking to immigrate are: 1, better career opportunities; 2, heightened insecurity; 3, the desire to provide better future for their children; 4, further education; 5, as a result of perceived poor governance in the country. In addition to these push factors, the favorable Canadian immigration schemes, which makes educated and highly skilled. In summary, the findings of this study highlight existing government's inability to stimulate a thriving and effective structure that delivers security to all citizens and promote institutional public goods. Nigerians are not going there because they do not believe Nigeria provides them any opportunity and security to thrive as citizens. Finally, there's an expectation that this study helps to throw some lights, and of course, these virtual policy dialogues on this issue of middle-class Nigerians and elite Nigerians migrating to Canada. And I hope that it helps policymakers, public institutions, and advocates and the media to make informed judgments about migrating to Canada. Lastly, I hope this study will generate some public commentary and discourse as we're about to have now on the public space. Once again, I want to say welcome to everyone. It's great to have you here. Thank you. This evening, we are pleased to be joined by some very distinguished guests in the house. We have Ms. Kerry Greenhoff, Program Manager, Immigration of the Canada High Commission in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the ambassador could not join us. We had scheduled him to join us, but we have Ms. Kerry Greenhoff here with us. We also have, particularly of great interest, the Secretary of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Engineer Dr. Sule Basi, who I will be given the opportunity shortly to make an opening remark. We have a great team of panelists today. We have especially a great team to join us, do justice to this topic today. First, we have Ambassador Dr. Macaulay Carl, Chairman of the African Union 6th Region. Panelist is Dr. Adiola Olubamiji. She's the Director of Additive Manufacturing Solutions, Desktop Metal, Canada. Adi is also one of those, if you will, influencers on social media that they love about education. We also have Azumi Dagon. Azumi is a director in the non-profit space in Canada, supporting migrant professionals, helping them to settle into Canada. In addition, we have Dr. Olukunle Ojele, an independent consultant and an academic based in Canada. And we also have Marina Iyeme Eteng. She's a HR professional and a YouTube content creator, creating fantastic content on the experience of Nigerians living in Canada. At this point in time, without much ado, I want to specially welcome the Secretary to the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Engineer Dr. Sule Basi, to give his welcome remarks. Thank you. Nicom, yes, we can see you.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sylvester Uzefuna Jr. I'm from Nitcom. The secretary to with us, we're trying to get sorted out.
You can go ahead. I think we can hear you loud and clear.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Nitcom 2. Dr. Basi, we can hear you. Nitcom 2. Nitcom 2. Can you kindly pin Nitcom? Co-host, can you kindly pin Nitcom so we can track? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nitcom, we can see you. We can see you. Dr. Basi, we can see you.
Thank you. Hello, Professor Ehua?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you. You are live.
Okay, thank you very much. I apologize for the little technical hitch we had just some few moments ago. His Excellency, the Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria, here represented, the Executive Director of the African Polling Institute, Professor Bell Ehua, distinguished panelists, fellow Nigerians in the diaspora, especially those in Canada, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all apologize on behalf of the Honorable Abike Dabri Irewa, the Chairman CEO of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, who is not able to join us personally at this particular forum due to another scheduled event that is taking place right now. I want to thank the African Polling Institute for the invitation and the very apt forum on the Canada Rush. Let me say that Nigeria, in recognition of the attributes of her diaspora, has established the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission by an act of parliament in the year 2017. NIDCOM, that's the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, is a one-stop agency with the responsibility of harnessing the Nigerians in the diaspora in the policies, projects, and participation in the development of Nigeria for the purpose of utilizing the human capital and material resources of Nigerians in the diaspora towards the overall socio-economic, cultural, and political development of Nigeria. NIDCOM deals with all Nigerians in the diaspora inclusively, whether as individuals, groups, professionals, or communities, those in Canada inclusive. That the Canada Rush, as per the insightful studies of the African Polling Institute, API, is fueled by the following factors that were identified in the study. 1, better career opportunities. 2, heightened insecurity in Nigeria. 3, the desire to provide better future further education. 5, poor governance in immigration scheme.
Dr. Basi, we've lost you briefly. Dr. Basi, if you can hear me, we've lost you briefly. Dr. Basi, we've lost you. If you're still there. Unfortunately, time is not a very good friend of ours here. We can see we are almost 20 minutes short into
in transmission.
Okay, we can hear you. Please carry on.
Thank you. Migration as a basic human right, therefore, has become a sine qua non to development, either by the policy of managed migration, remote work visas, or multiple entry visas. Managed migration policy are usually to address skill gaps and are country-specific and time-constrained. Initially, it may be looked upon to the country of origin to brain gain and brain circulation in the medium to long terms. Countries like Canada did develop their policy on managed migration according to their national interests, hence the favorable migration policies, which has given rise to the Canada rush. Some of the push factors, like insecurity, needs to be further interrogated as it may appear not conclusive. This is because people from areas of insecurity do not seem to be part of the bandwagon of the Canada rush. Some of the push factors can also be viewed as challenges and opportunities for immigrants to focus on and proffer solutions as part of contributions for national development in the medium term. Your study, therefore, on the Canada rush is apt. There are positive lessons to learn from it by Nigeria. We at NIDCOM, therefore, are studying it and will drive lessons on how to harness the Nigerians in diaspora in Canada, the creation of the Canada rush, to see how to turn it to brain gain and brain circulation for Nigeria. We will also like to work with relevant stakeholders like the African Polling Institute, API, to develop strategies to harness the resources, skills, and talents of Nigerians in the diaspora for national development, thereby turning the seeming brain drain into brain gain and brain circulation. We therefore wish you very fruitful deliberations and look forward to the final conclusions of the forum to further help us in our policy formulations. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bassi. We are deeply grateful, and we thank you for taking out time to join us this evening. Thank you, sir. We'll go straight into the conversation without wasting much time. I'm not sure if our first guest is here, but I know I've seen quite a number of the panelists. And I'll be starting the conversation this evening with Dr. Adiola Olubamiji. As I mentioned earlier, she is the Director of Additive Manufacturing Solutions, Desktop Metal Canada. I want to start by asking her the question. Nigerians are immigrating to Canada in large numbers, and we have identified 5 key factors which we have looked or talked about. Are these factors justifiable with the rate of migration we are witnessing? Kindly let us have your thoughts in 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. I'm very pleased to meet fellow Nigerians who are concerned about what is going on as we see Nigerians just take a leave from where they are and just migrate to Canada. I came to Canada as a student, as an international student to study. And one of the things I enjoyed was full funding, scholarships made accessible to me by Canadian government and relevant research institutes. I believe that this is one of the major priorities or major areas that is driving that rush to Canada. Back in Nigeria, I carried the same level of understanding, the same knowledge, but never had an opportunity to have that scholarship, which I desire very much. It is good to think about the quality education that Canada offers, but the lack of funding, the lack of scholarship is really making it difficult for a layman or a poor person with very sound skills to be able to get admission to private universities in opportunity that is being provided. Aside, the quality of education is one of the reasons why Nigerian youths, especially the ones from underserved and under-resourced areas, are migrating greatly to Canada. Still in the area of education, another thing to consider is the fact that after your studies, you get 3-year work permit, which has made Canada very attractive as a destination to study for international students. So after you study, you can get that study permit and work legally within the country for 3 years. I want to mention there is that there is pathway for international students to become permanent resident of Canada, which leads them to become citizens of the country. So talking from the student point, which is how I entered into the country, I have been able to enjoy all of those different things and proudly Nigerian Canadian today. Apart from student opportunities that are available, the good education, the access to technology, the scholarship and pathway to citizenship, I also emphasize that the pathway to citizenship is not just for students. As we have seen, Canada has opened up their borders. When I came into Canada as an international student, we had something called PhD stream, where in my second year as a PhD student, I could become a permanent resident. After that, they transitioned into the express entry approach, which made it very easy for people to migrate to Canada. And there are other programs like the Provincial Nominee Program, which laid emphasis on skill sets required. And depending on who you are, whether you are a tradesman who can drive a lorry or you are a professor, there is migrating opportunity for you to come into the country legally. I feel like that opened the door beyond just qualified professionals. So people who are cook, people who are chef, people who are drivers have opportunities to migrate to Canada and become permanent residents. So the permanent route has become one of the highly sought after route for Nigerians because of the bus. And another thing that I want to mention there is there is family class. So under that permanent resident route, so if I'm a Canadian or I'm a permanent Canada, I have siblings in the province that make allowance for that. I could nominate my siblings to be able to come into the country. And even if you use the generic express entry approach, the number of points you get increases drastically if in Canada. So aside from people just saying insecurity is a problem, if you have a family member in Canada, the ease to migrate there also make it attractive to people. Yeah, we want to talk a little bit about healthcare. So healthcare is free in Canada, whether to students who are legally registered or permanent residents and very attractive because the healthcare is important when we're thinking about life expectancy. That healthcare, the helping us that good life expectancy that is over 80, 79.9 for men and 84 years for women. Everybody wants to live longer. So these are some of the factors that, and the fact that more is a big part of the Canadian. So we have a little less when we're thinking about racism. Everybody is sort of equal. Your voice matters. Compare Canada to other places. People want to look at it and migrate there. We live in a place where we fit our Yoruba culture. And in different parts of Canada, there are heritage festivals that allows you to celebrate your food, your culture, and things like that. So it makes Canada feel like home for us as immigrants who have it there. And I feel like these are some of the, I can go on and on. I listed down here a little more on, safety, of course, is very important.
We'll come back to you, Adi. Thanks for this. This is a handful. We'll come back to you, but we just want to go around. We'll have a second session. I want to come at the moment. Azumi, as I mentioned earlier, is the director supporting migrants in Canada. Azumi, from your experience working with migrants in Canada, especially Nigerian migrants, how would you rate the experience of migrants who have successfully moved to Canada? Do you reckon they consider their decision a wise decision vis-a-vis opportunities for employment and education? Azumi, please.
Hi, everyone. Good morning from here. Good evening in Nigeria. It's a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to have these conversations on how to move the community forward and how to help people here, and also, share information that'll help people from back home. It's a pleasure to meet and connect with Dr. Adi and Marina and everyone else who's on here as a panelist, Dr. Jelaya as well. I think that it's tricky to talk about if people have made the right decision. There's so many different factors that drive people relocating. So the reason why I relocated is probably different from why Dr. Adi relocated or why Marina relocated. So sort of judging the success or the defining how the success of my relocation and her relocation and somebody else's relocation is difficult. But there's certain different factors that we can look at and think of in terms of how does it apply to most people. And I think that with most people that I connect with, because I work with immigrant professionals on a daily, a lot of people feel like they've made the right decisions. The basis of why people move, the first thing I find with most people who move is they want options. Like you rightly said, the people who are moving, they're not the poor in the sense of Nigeria. They're usually middle class, upper middle class, people who are doing pretty well for themselves, because it's a pretty expensive process to move, whether you're moving as a student or permanent resident, whatever route that you're taking, it is not cheap, especially when you consider the exchange rate to the Canadian dollar. But these people are in some sort of comfortable level in Nigeria, but they choose to leave all of that behind because they feel like there's a greater thing. There's a greater level, there's some greener grass, or that they have the opportunity to water their grass to make it greener. So those are the things that we'll consider. Personally, one of the things that drove my decision to move was I wanted options, not just for me, but for my kids. It was important to me that I gave my kids a level field, a playing ground that they could play with internationally. I didn't want them to be limited to, oh, this is their reality with being Nigerians. I wanted them to be able to play on the global scale. So when you're talking about if people have made the right decisions, my first question is, what is your why? Why did you leave? Now look at why you left and figure out how you're doing here and are you making progress on that? One of the first things to consider is, you need to understand that there might be times when you will stoop to conquer. Reminds me of a novel that I read as a child, She Stoops to Conquer. But there might be times when you need to give up, a status, what you think that you were doing or how high you thought you were. You need to maybe slide in on a lower level in order to give yourself the opportunity to rise higher. And chances are, for the most part, if you give it your best shot, in a short while, you will rise higher, right? So that I feel like people should consider when they're thinking of, have I made the right choice? Another thing is realistic expectations. I feel like we need to say that over and over again, because some people might have the opinion that, Canada is an awesome place, which it definitely is, but they might also think, oh, it's lined with the streets of gold. Someone's going to snatch you off at the airport and offer you an offer letter. I'm sorry, I hate to bust your bubble. That's not going to happen, right? You will have your growth, what's the word I'm trying to find? Your growth phase. But the thing is, I usually, with my clients, I say the first thing you need to tackle, I know that I've said a lot of first, but one of the things you need to tackle is your mindset. When you have the right expectations, when you're coming here and you're not expecting that someone's going to hand over something to you because you were the MD somewhere in Nigeria or you were the ED, then that takes a lot of pressure off, one, yourself, two, off your expectations, right? Those are one of the few things you want to start with. I hope that I'm within my timeline, but to wrap it up, I think that most people that I've connected with don't have regrets. Do they feel like there's one or three things that they would like to change, or their path or how they've gone? Yes, I feel like if we look at our lives in Canada, there's like 5 million things we each want to change about our lives, but manage your expectations, know that you might have to stoop to conquer, and give it your best shot. One of the beautiful things I love about Nigerians is just how resilient we are. We're hardworking. We take, I feel like if we work like we work in Nigeria, the 100% that we give in Nigeria, if we give it here, they would probably think we're crazy. That's just how hardworking that we are on a normal day.
Thank you very much, Azumi. Thank you. I'll come for a second round of questions. Let me go to my good friend, Dr. Kunle Ojele. Last year, when we released this study and we were planning a policy dialogue, I reached out to him to say, can you join us? Can you come? And he, accepted to come join us. And of course, COVID happened, that didn't hold. But I'm glad he's here today. Dr. Jeleye, I saw you smiling when Azumi talked about the fact that it's not as if there's gold on the streets of Canada, or someone can just come, grab your hand and say, here is a job. But I want to take you off on a different trajectory. Records show that remittances from Nigerians in diaspora, at least as of 2018, was about 25 billion. It went up from 2 billion in 2017, $3 billion US extra just in a year, to $25 billion in 2018. In your opinion, where do we draw a balance between migration and financial remittances? Where do we draw that balance?
Thank you so much, Professor Bell, for having me. And I didn't notice that you saw me laughing when Azumi was sort of giving a response to your question. I was laughing because, as you are probably aware, most people may not be, I've been an immigrant or a migrant twice. And she was quite right in saying that people have to set their expectations and to be very, very realistic about the possibilities when they are moving from one place to the other, particularly for those who have done extremely well in Nigeria and who are coming into Canada, that they need to be aware of the fact that it's not as if they get there straight away and they can get jobs or prospects commensurate to the level at which they were before. So I feel that's an important point that we constantly need to be making known to prospective migrants from Nigeria. Back to your question, the position of balancing immigration and financial, or migration and financial remittances, presupposes that there is a direct correlation between the two. It assumes that the more you have an outflow of human resources from a country, the greater the inflow of remittances. In my opinion, and just as I mentioned before, as someone who has migrated twice in the last 30 years and has been involved in a few migration studies, this is not the case. First, the reality is that for the first 2 or 3 years of a migrant sojourn in a foreign land, going back to what Azumi said earlier on, most migrants are unable to make meaningful remittance contributions to their countries of origin. Second, a country's diaspora's level of remittances is based on that diaspora's earning capacity. Country A may have a small but high income earning diaspora, whereas country B has a populous but low income diaspora. Therefore, there is a higher probability of country A having an inflow of remittances far greater than that of country B. Many skilled African migrants have been enticed away from the continent by the developed countries through selected policies that favor and reward the migrants' talents. And Azumi also referred to this, as well as Dr. Olubamiji. The concern on the migration side is that skills leaving Nigeria are mostly those we are in dire need of. Medical doctors and nurses are a classic example in this respect. This is in contrast to, this is unlike the Philippines, where migration is encouraged in specific human resources surplus to the country's requirements so that they can get an increased flow of financial remittances. And for me, when I went through the study that Africa Institute has conducted, the report of which you sent to me and I read completely from front to back, your study raises a very crucial point that I think is yet to be interrogated by anyone. Given the high net worth individuals living in Nigeria and the associated financial movement out of the country, what is the net value of remittances from Canada to Nigeria? So when we are talking about drawing a balance between migration and financial remittances, I think it requires that we agree that one, there is an imbalance, and secondly, that imbalance impacts Nigeria negatively. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kunle. It's a pleasure. Yes, indeed, we're in the UK together, so I can't tell clearly that you had your fair share living in the UK, and you, of course, now living in Canada. So I understand where you're coming from. Precisely, there are more issues to be interrogated, and we would sort of try to see how much time we have to deepen this conversation further. But I'll go to the next panelist. Our next panelist is Marina Iyeme-Eteng. She is a HR professional and YouTube content creator, someone who I've sort of come to enjoy her videos on YouTube. I've watched a few of them, including the very recent one she posted, which I hope I'll have some time to interrogate her on. For Marina, you tell very interesting stories about Nigerians living in Canada from your experience and all of that. Are there some downsides of migration? Are there some downsides of Nigerians immigrating to Canada that Nigerians who are prospective migrants should be aware of? Or is it all lovey-dovey and rosy? Are there some downsides that we should be aware of? Marina, please.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I consider it an honor to be on the same platform with some of the panel people that I look up to. It's an absolute honor to me. So thank you very much. Of course, everything that has an upside almost always has the downside. So one of the major downsides I would say about Canadian immigration is something that Azume spoke a little about, and it's concerning work. I find that there is a bit of a disconnect between Canadian immigration and actual Canadian employers. The average Canadian employers doesn't fully understand immigration processes. So when you say my credential has been evaluated and is on the same level as a Canadian degree, the average Canadian employer doesn't fully understand that. So you find that immigrants get into the workforce at 2 to 3, sometimes 3 levels lower than what their actual qualification should be. Everybody is looking for people who have Canadian experiences, but who's going to give you that first opportunity to get the Canadian experience, to get your foot in the door? So most times people take jobs that are lower than their actual qualification just to get their foot in the door, just to be able to add Canadian experience to your resume. And sometimes that taking the positions 2 or 3 steps lower can set you back by a couple of years. That's the truth. But in actual sense, your skill set is what will now set you apart. When you get in the door, what are you bringing? What value are you bringing to the organization? Employers are able to recognize the value that immigrants bring. And sometimes for some people, it's very quick. They're able to quickly now rise when they get in. So if I get in a position 2 to 3 steps lower, in a matter of months, the employer is quickly able to identify and say, okay, this person brings a lot more value than the position that they're in, and then they can lift you to the position where you're supposed to be. But the work is going to depend on you as the immigrant. It's almost like you do twice the work to be seen. It's like you do twice the work to be recognized at the same level with our counterparts who were Canadian born. Okay, so that's the first major thing that I find. The work is almost not always at par on the same level with qualification when you get in. And for people licensing procedures, the licensing processes can be long, it can be tedious, and they can be expensive. It can be discouraging for people who, like medical doctors, have to take multiple exams before they're able to practice here as medical doctors. Some people immediately just drop the dreams of medicine and find other career path. And that's another advantage Canada has. You can wake up at 50 and decide you want a new career path, and there's a path for that. So it can be discouraging to go to school for so many years and find that the licensing procedure makes it so difficult for you to continue that, and then you have to start thinking about a new career at whatever stage in your life. So that part, I would say, is a downside. Another thing I'd like to talk about is I know Canadians, we sound like broken records when we talk about the weather in Canada, but honestly, guys, I cannot emphasize enough how much of a brutal shocker the weather can be. I live in Saskatchewan, that's a prairie province, and never in my wildest imagination did I ever think I would see a negative sign in front of double-digit temperatures. In February this year, we experienced temperature with wind chill as low as minus 50 degrees in Saskatchewan. Minus 50 degrees. Let us sink in for a bit. So that, imagine the people who land in February, the people who land in January, which is like the peak of the prairie winters, it can make you change your mind and go back into the airport, get back on that plane and go back home. I've thought about it several times. The winter here has made me question my life choices, but hey, I'm still here, still surviving. But the advantage of that is that with the appropriate winter gear, which are available almost anywhere, so in some places, you can access this for not as expensive as it would be in other places. So there's solutions to all of this. The weather, big one. And then one other last thing I would like to add is it does get a bit overwhelming, because immigration is like you uproot your life, already established life from one country, and you're trying to start all over again in a new country. It does take a toll. It takes a mental toll. It gets lonely. It does get lonely before you get to the point where you have established a new support system, you have made friends. For your children, they're walking away from everything they know. They're walking away from their friends, their family, their cousins, friends at school. They're walking away from this school where they don't even know they're Black because everybody looks like them. And suddenly we come into this new country and they're in schools where they're about the only Black kids in the class or one or two other Black kids. They suddenly realize that they're Black because, they look at themselves and it's very obvious that something is different. So these things, it takes a toll on our children, it takes a toll on us mentally. But then again, there are support groups everywhere. Like in most of the provinces here right now, you will almost always find a Nigerian association at least. In major cities, we have these associations where people are coming together to form support groups for one another and to just help each other out through this transition and the processes. And there are a lot of resources available online. That's why I started talking on YouTube, just sharing the experiences that you will almost always not find on the website, people sharing their practical experiences. And I found that with all these resources available, the transition is getting easier. It doesn't take away all the shockers that immigrants face, but there are resources that make transitioning into this new country a little easier and more seamless. So that's what I would say the downsides are.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thank you. How in the world do you survive a minus 50 degrees weather? Not even did we experience that. At best, maybe -6, -7, but minus 50 degrees, that's something people have to really think about. I'll come back to Adi at the moment. Adi, you do a lot of work around education, around scholarships for students seeking education opportunities in the US and in Canada. How do you think Nigeria's educational system can benefit from that of Canada in order to avoid a seeming brain drain and convert that to brain gain? I know that Dr. Bassi, in his opening remark, did mention that we are hoping that we can have a situation where people go out and becomes brain gain for the country instead of brain drain. What we are seeing is a lot of brain drain because they go out, some of which who go out through education, but then after go for the immigration holy grail, which is transiting from studentship to permanent residency. So how can we leverage on Canadian educational system to benefit the Nigerian system? Adi.
I need a little more time. Let me start with that. Thank you again for allowing me to add my voice to this conversation. I'm very passionate about education. If there's anything that you want to ask me, you have asked the right question. So I'll tell you a little story. I studied physics in Olabisi Onabanjo University in Nigeria. I did a master's degree in biomedical engineering in Finland, and did a PhD in biomedical engineering with specialization in 3D printing, additive manufacturing at University of Saskatchewan. I see somebody from Saskatchewan there. Yeah, -50 is real. So I want to talk a little bit about what that meant. So when I finished my master's degree, I wanted to go back home. I did biomedical. I felt like it was innovative. It was new. It was something Nigeria needed. And I was looking for a university to take me as a research assistant. There was no opportunity because at that point, we were just getting started. And then when I finished my PhD, I got a job, my first job. I really wanted to collaborate with a university. So I chose University of Waterloo in Ontario and built a relationship. And I was approached at that time by a couple of government officials in Nigeria as to 3D printing is new. How can you help us? So over the years, I've grown a lot of university partnership in Canada and the US. But the thing is, I keep talking about if Nigeria needs to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies, we could be the bridge between them and the US and Canadian universities. And I feel like we could be the ones to channel those partnerships, because the university in Nigeria right now, I'm not sure where the level of understanding of new technologies such as biomedical, 3D printing, artificial intelligence are. We could be that bridge. So I'm hoping that our institutions can open up adjunct professorship opportunities. I'm not able to move back home anymore the way I wanted to in the past, but I could still contribute as an adjunct professor, whether collaborating with another professor or helping open the doors to partnership with different institutions that I have collaborations with, or people that I've developed relationships with. I've talked about this maybe 10 times on different Nigerian related calls. No Nigerian universities have reached out to me that we are interested in 3D printing, come and help us with something. None. If we want to really move forward, I think the interest has to start from home. Nigerian universities need to realize that they need us. They need to realize there is a gap. They need to realize that we are behind, and that they need these people who have gone into the diaspora, made names for themselves, made some reputations for themselves. They need us to come and help. And we cannot be the ones saying we want to help. If they don't want the help, then the help is not going to really amount to anything. Partnerships. So I'm also going to say classroom has to move beyond physical location to digital classrooms. So today we are having this conversation over Zoom. I'm not present in Nigeria. Nobody paid me any flight ticket or anything like that. And I'm still able to contribute. I feel like classrooms should become more digital. And that will enhance contributions from the diaspora a lot more. It would enhance research collaborations, teaching, and things related to that. Our universities in Nigeria need to open up opportunities to adopt virtual classrooms. Another one is short courses. So there are different technologies that are popping up because of Industry 4.0. We need to realize that some of these don't have to be a whole degree. Some of them could just be a course. Some of them could be short course that could be taught over a 40-hour or maybe a 100-hour class. Can we open up those short courses for critical elements that our youths need to adopt or add as part of their portfolios? And people like myself or other people, professors who are of Nigerian descent, or friend of Africa or friend of Nigerians, can teach those short courses. There are multiple pathways that we can look at, partnerships. We've talked about, other one that I want to talk about is really as Nigerians, people had told me this, they'll say, you're Nigerian, you should be able to do this for free. We are not going to do some things for free because we are Nigerians. Our country or people from those universities need to understand that all the things I'm talking about, money is involved. So the economy of our universities need to be redefined. There should be some allocation of funding for different things that has to be done to enable those partnerships happen, to enable those collaborations happen. The last one I want to say is opportunities to have exchange programs. Exchange programs between Nigerian universities and universities in the diaspora, such as the ones that we have collaborations with, where people who are doing research back home could come and do practical research for 6 months, for 3, not for tourism, 6 months, learning a particular area and collecting data that it can now take home to analyze. I think with those different points, if we adopt some of, I'm hoping to, I think if you put Africa and 3D printing on Google today, my name will come out. And if my name comes out, the question I keep asking myself is, how much contribution am I channeling back home? If Nigeria, if Africa is not adopting 3D printing, fingers are pointed at me. And I cannot do anything if the people on the other side are not ready to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adi. Thank you. That was remarkable. I've just been informed that Ambassador Macaulay Kalu is here with us now. And Ambassador is the chairman, African Union 6th region in Canada, and a policy advisor to the Americas. Ambassador, I want to ask you this question. With the state of Nigerians seeking immigration opportunities to Canada, how can the Nigerian government strengthen bilateral ties with Canada in order to deepen mutual diplomatic and economic interests? I especially or specifically kept this question for you as a diplomat, Ambassador Kalu, please.
Well, thank you so very much, Professor Ihua, and so excited to see my beloved sister, Dr. Jola, and Marina, and the rest of our team from Canada. And also greetings to all participants in IDCOM and the rest of you. I salute you all. Once again, being a Nigerian is something that I'm very proud of. Being a Nigerian, I always say to people, no matter what happens, I cannot take Nigeria out of me. I can't take Africa out of me. Doesn't matter what is said or what is done. I'm still a Nigerian. I'm still an African. I'm proud of it. We might not be where we want to be, but we're making progress. So based on what you're saying, once again, everything lies on policy. Everything lies on policy. I think, not only that we have to work on policy, but we need to see how we can implement the policies that are, on the table. I know that, for example, the Canadian government, have different policies that are making education attractive. That's why people are going there, right? And we have so many things as Nigeria, as a country, that could bring a mutual interest. For example, you talk about economy. The trade between Nigeria and Canada, it's between the average of 2.6, 2.7 billion, okay? Economic trade between, and in that trade, Nigeria is benefiting average of 900 to 950 million. So the rest, Canada is, benefiting more than that, 1.something billion. And there needs to be a balance between that trade relationship. Now, the point now is that there are policies that we have that are not favorable to us. That we are not understanding those policies that would encourage those level of trade between Nigeria and Canada. So when it comes to the aspect of immigration, for example, policies, I use example for example, Philippines. Philippines have engaged different Western nations, for example, Canada. They've come into agreement to export skilled professionals into Canada. Whether the chefs, the cooks, the nannies, different professionals, where they train these people as different levels of professionals that are in demand in Canada. Professionally agreed upon, they train them and they export them into those countries, giving them permanent residence. So you can have somebody, there's something in Vietnam, different countries are making such agreement, an arrangement, and so, China has made the same agreement, even on the aspect of education and the aspect of skilled professionals and all that. So on the aspect of policy, I think that Nigeria can also do the same thing. Now, it's going to be difficult to reduce and stop the aspect of migration, especially from the perspective of Nigeria. Why? Giving you example, US have almost more than 5,000 universities and higher institutions in the US alone, with a population of 350 million people. Here you have Nigeria, over 200 million people, and you don't have universities and higher institutions more than 100. So what are you going to do? So you have a growing population that love to study, that love education, and we don't have enough higher institutions that can accommodate the number of people coming out from high secondary schools or higher institutions, colleges, secondary schools. So things like these are areas that we need to look into, the aspect of different intentional agreements and policies that will look into education, that have to do with aspect of economic trade and different things. It's an intentional thing. So sometimes we talk about them, we have these policies, but we don't implement them. So once again, these are the areas that I think that the policy is the major aspect. Policy implementation is key. We have wonderful policies, wonderful ideas that will do so many things, but they are not being implemented.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you for those comments. I'll go back to Azumi. Ambassador started this conversation by saying that he's really, a Nigerian at heart. So, irrespective of any part of the world he remains a Nigerian at heart. I want to ask you, still talking about your experience with migrants in Canada, do you have a sense that many of these migrants still have their hearts back in Nigeria or in Africa and still hope to return home to Nigeria or to any part of Africa someday in the future to contribute to the countries or the continent's development? What's your sense, Azumi?
Thank you. That's again a tricky question to try to get into the heads of people, but I'd say, like the ambassador said, we're Nigerians. There's nothing we can do about that. We can drain all the blood and then pump in some more blood from somewhere. It doesn't change the fact that we're Nigerians. We can't do anything about that. And as we become Canadians, we'll always be Nigerian Canadians. We can't change that. Now, that being said, I feel like when people move here, like I mentioned in the first round of questions, the idea is to have options. Now, when you move here, you've stayed a while, you have your permanent residency, and then you have your citizenship. Then sometimes, as maybe we get older, and then we start to reevaluate our choices, and we start to think of, okay, maybe I'm not really excited about minus 50 degrees in the winter. And that is a thing. I mean, the winters are crazy, but the good part is that we get really hot, really nice summers as well, and then we forget how bad the winters are. But moving on from that, maybe as we get older and then we start to reevaluate our choices and we think that, okay, maybe I should go back home. There's several different factors about why a person might want to go back home. But as much as we're questioning if people want to go back home, we should also be questioning, is home better than what we left it? So if home is better than what we left it, home will always be home. There will always be that pull, family, the weather, food, the culture, all of that. There'll always be that pull. But is home better off than when we left it? The chances that anybody's going to go back to a worse off situation, and I use that term in parentheses, worse off in parentheses, is very slim. But you also want to consider that sometimes when people think of going back home, they also consider that when they're going back home, having lived in the diaspora, wherever they've lived, they're given or accorded more value. The sense with the employers in Nigeria or whoever it is that whatever it is they're going to start at home, the fact that they've lived abroad and then come back home creates the impression that they're bringing value. And that is a fact. They are bringing value. People will relate to them better. People will stop to listen when they talk. People will think that, oh, they've seen how it works abroad, and hopefully they're going to be able to help translate that to back home. So there's, it's hard to say that some people are thinking of back home. One of the questions that I get asked very often is, so how do you eat? I hope your kids don't live off burgers and fries. No, I can promise you, we eat everything that you eat, all the ofes and salads and the ofe noodles, and we eat everything back home. So we're not missing out in that sense. We eat suya, everything, suya and everything. So we're not missing out in that sense. But when I think of this, I think of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Sometimes you get to a position in your career and in your life where it's over and beyond remuneration in terms of the dollar signs. You're looking for something higher. You want to go back home and give back. Like Dr. Adi said, she's thinking, how am I going to help back home? I've gained all this knowledge, experience, expertise, and networks. How do I use it to better the life of the average Nigerian back home? How do I contribute my quarter to what's happening back home? But there's that constraint of you can't help people who appear to not want that help. They have to want it. They have to actively seek for it sometimes in order for you to feel like the value that you bring will be appreciated. So home will always be home. No dispute about that. I think that maybe when we think about these questions, we should be thinking about children. We grew up in Nigeria, so we have those roots. For those of us who've maybe had kids here or moved here with young kids, they'll be, in a sense, more Canadian than Nigerian. And then, so that's a whole nother conversation with them and their generation.
Thank you very much, Azumi. It's quite reassuring to know that you still enjoy your in Salah and the rest of them. Thank you very much. I'll come back to Dr. Jeleye. Dr. Jeleye, given the state of citizens, Nigerians migrating to Canada, can we do anything to reduce this rush? Or should we just allow citizens to continue migrating? Or is it too late to stem the tide? And if I may ask, how can we strengthen government systems to focus more on implementation of policies as Flora Bassi asked? So, Dr. Jeleye, please.
Thank you, Professor Bell. I like the qualifying word, STEM. We can stem the outflow, but we cannot stop it. We cannot stop Nigerians from leaving the country. Your study has shown the various reasons why people are leaving Nigeria in droves. And in as much as each citizen has the fundamental human right of movement, no government can control migration away from its shores by legislative fiat. The only way to stem movement out of Nigeria is by ensuring people can realize the potentials they are seeking in far-flung places without moving an inch from Nigeria. It is what the Yoruba people refer to as finding your need inside the pocket of your trouser, Sokoto, rather than going all the way from Lagos to Sokoto. But I will prefer we shift the focus in line with submissions already made by my co-panelists. Migration is a half-full glass. It's not a half-empty one. The benefit goes beyond financial remittances. As your study rightly noted, there's the bring gain side of it.
You're muted, Doctor, you're muted. Can you unmute?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so where did you lose me? Sorry.
Migration being a half full glass.
Oh, okay. Migration is a half full glass, it's not a half empty one. The benefit goes beyond financial remittances. As your study rightly noted, there's the brain gain side of it, which we must recognize. And I'm glad the Secretary of NIDCOM did refer to that as well. Knowledge, skills, and technological know-how already acquired by Nigerians in developed countries can be applied wholly or with adaptation to suit Nigeria's developmental needs. And I'm also glad that Hadi did mention this, particularly in regards to the educational sector. Maybe I picked on that simply because I have all my legs in the educational sector in Canada at the moment. Not only because I teach on a part-time basis African Studies at the University of Calgary, but also because I work fully as a project manager within a post-secondary institution. And I've been involved in the implementation of ICT tools, softwares, and equipment in the last 6 years to bring to our students or our learner the vision that they can study anytime, anywhere, any place, at any time. That means you can stay inside your house, you can be anywhere in the world, and you can still study and gain the necessary certification that you need to be able to go into a workplace and to work. And this is all based on the utilization of the vast advantage that improvements in technology has brought to the whole world. So not all the migrants will return to Nigeria. And I think Azumi has emphasized this, but it doesn't mean that we still know Nigeria cannot gain the benefits of whatever knowledge they've acquired. Globalization, modern technological advancements, and even the COVID-19 pandemic, just as we are meeting now. We are supposed to meet physically last year, we couldn't. But now we are able to have this discussion remotely and virtually and still make it meaningful to the need of Nigeria. So there is no reason why we should be emphasizing that people should come back, especially because their reality is home for many people is where they can sleep and wake up without having to worry about their safety and their security. So how do we tap into this knowledge that is out there in the diaspora? How do we make use of it for the benefit of Nigeria without asking people to come back? And if we are asking people to come back, what kind of environment are we going to put in place to encourage them, to entice them to come back? Medical doctors are known to have guided colleagues thousands of miles away to carry out delicate and intricate surgical procedures through video conferencing. So for me, if there's one particular area, and I keep emphasizing this in all the studies I've done on migration, if there's one particular area that Nigeria needs to seriously invest in, it is in terms of providing high-speed internet access to the citizens at very, very low cost. You can imagine with the pandemic, a number of universities and institutions in Nigeria were shut down for a long period of time. In my institution here, the project we had envisaged we will carry out a year, this year, we had to implement it within 5-6 weeks, bringing in Microsoft Teams, not just into the workplace for staff members and instructors, but also rolling it out to almost 10,000 students. And that's the means through which we have been teaching and providing instructions to our students for the last 1 year. To the extent now that we are even now thinking of hybrid classrooms, where a student may decide, today I don't want to go to class. I don't want to go and see Professor Bell's face. I just want to chill out in my pajamas, in my bedroom, and you still participate fully in that particular instructional class. You can see your professor, you can see your classmate, you can ask questions in real time, you get answers in real time. So for me, I have a passion, and I am hoping that this is one area where policy would not just be about, we talk about it, we write about it, we present a report to the Nigerian government, but nothing gets done, which Ambassador Kalu also emphasized. This is one particular area I think Nigeria seriously needs to look at in terms of investment and making sure that in the next 2 years or 3 years, we can talk of most of our institutions having good, stable internet access, and that they are able to tap into technology to not just for instructional purposes, but also for collaborative purposes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jele. I can say that some work is currently ongoing around that. I know that quite a number of Nigerian universities are currently upscaling their ICT platforms to be able to provide, virtual learning spaces. I know that Tech Fund is providing some financing for that under the supervision of the Nigerian Universities Commission. So quite a number of public institutions, of course, are now keen into the digital learning. And we know that a number of the private investors are already considering, virtual learning spaces. I'll come back to Marina now. Marina, I want us to look at COVID-19. How has COVID-19 impacted on whether prospective migrants waiting for their documents to come out, or migrants who have come into Canada but are expecting one document or the other, to expect them sort of have a good footing or settle in properly? I watched one of your videos, and you did mention that there is a bit of frustration in the air given COVID. Can you throw more light on that, Marina?
Yeah, so it was the week where the month of March made it 1 year since everything shut down. We had to go remote, and the restrictions on air travel in Canada was put in place. I was just from the emails that I get emails from people all over the world who watch my videos on a weekly basis, between 50 to 70 emails. And the temperature of the emails that I'd been getting that period was around the hopelessness and the frustration of just not knowing what the way forward is, especially for the people who had received their confirmation of permanent residence but couldn't land in Canada because of the travel restrictions. There were a lot of frustrations around that for people who were still expecting some updates from the Canadian immigration that had been stalled because of COVID. So the general temperature is mainly for people who are outside Canada, not necessarily those in here. And it's the frustration, it's just the hopelessness of not knowing when the restrictions will be lifted, what policy is going to follow next. Is it going to be to my advantage? Would it be to my disadvantage? Like, it's what today's 1st of April, and there has not been a federal skilled worker draw so far in Canada. And that, for a lot of people who are in the pool, that's very frustrating for them as well. So the general temperature is just the frustration and the hopelessness. And that's what I was trying to do in the video, like talk to people like that, to say, hey, hang in there, don't lose hope. The Canada dream is not dead yet. If that's what you really want, keep hoping, and you'll be able to, hopefully something will come soon that would paint a clearer picture of what the way forward is going to be. And for the people who are here who have had one difficulty or the other because of COVID, honestly, even without COVID, moving to Canada has curveballs that we don't see coming. Sometimes when you land in here, the plan that you have, which is very good for you to have a plan, the plans that we have don't always turn out the way we expect it to be. Typical example, when we landed in 2016, my husband got a job 9 days after we arrived. For me, I couldn't get a job. I had to go back to school. It was a bit of a rude shocker for me. Just it was what, at that time, it had been about 10 years since I graduated from university. To now have to go back to classroom learning before I could get a job was a bit of a shocker for me. So I went back to school. I had to do that. It was the price I had to pay. Borrowed money, of course. It had to be a loan because I could not afford to go back to school with $10,000 at the time. It was the cost of my program. I had to go back to school with some people who had just graduated high school like 3 months before. I'm talking 18-year-olds. I had to be back in class, just learning every day with those guys. But because we had a plan, and for me, I was interested in keeping my eyes on the plan. That's one thing people who are looking to move to Canada can learn as well. Beyond just having a plan, you will have to pay the price to stick to that plan. Things don't always go as planned. The curveballs will come, but you must stick through it. Hold on to the plan and keep your eyes on your why. I had to go to school. It was a tough process because at the time my kids were 3 and 2. So imagine landing in this new country, still trying to understand the terrain and going back to school with 3 and 2-year-olds in minus 50-degree weather. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of adjustment to do. But for me, I kept my eyes on the why. And by the time I was graduating from that program, I graduated as the second best student in the entire school for that academic year. I had my photos published in the papers. Lowest score I had in that course was 91% out of 23 courses. 91% was my lowest. I had to keep my eyes on the goal, put in the work to get it going. So bottom line is the curveballs will come. Things don't always go according to plan. And COVID is a perfect example. How COVID just came in and changed the game for everything. So if you keep your eyes on the goal, especially for those people who are already in here, regardless of the temporary setbacks, there's always going to be light at the end of all of it. So that's my advice.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thank you. We'll go back to Ambassador Kalu now before we open up to participants to give their comments and contributions. So if you have comments and contribution, you can go ahead and just type it, or if you can indicate, and we can give you an opportunity to speak for a minute because of our time. But coming back to Ambassador Kalu, there's an area I want to probe a bit further. If you look at the findings from this study, one of the major areas that came out of why Nigerians are seeking opportunities to emigrate is the heightened insecurity and violence in the country. Incidentally, when the Secretary of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission gave his remark, he said that he did not particularly agree with that because those who actually live in the areas where there's heightened crime or heightened violence are not necessarily the rich ones seeking opportunities to migrate. So it appears those seeking opportunities to migrate are not necessarily in the heart of where the insecurity is taking place. So why do we have a preponderance of Nigerians saying that heightened insecurity is a cause for emigration? What is insecurity doing to us as a people vis-a-vis our citizens wanting to migrate, and of course, opportunities from abroad or getting foreign direct investments into the country? Ambassador Kalu.
Well, Professor Bell, thank you once again for the opportunity to share in this wonderful virtual platform that we're talking about. I really appreciate the data that you posted and all the things, the findings, and also listening to Secretary Netcom, what he said. I want to say this personally. When it comes to the aspect of immigration and migration, as for Nigerians, I really don't think. First of all, it's a personal choice. Whether you think about security, insecurity, economic, it's a personal choice. It is a personal choice. People have different reasons, that makes them choose to migrate. And I don't think the aspect, yes, we have the issue of insecurity and all that, but can I tell you honestly, I don't think we should be using that as an excuse or reason why people are migrating. Because come to think about it, I can tell you, you have, for example, I live in Toronto, okay? We have, straight bullets and gunshots that kill people randomly, right? That they were not the target. There are a lot of things that happen in different areas of the country that are not issues of where somebody would say, oh, I want to move out of Toronto because there is insecurity, because there's a lot of gunshots, or because there's this or there is that, right? And instead, but people are moving more into even those regions where you're having those aspects of so-called insecurity and things like that, right? So yes, these things can be an issue. Yes, it's right that insecurity, we need to do something about insecurity in Nigeria. That's 100%. There's no question about that. But I don't think that's a major thing that one would say that's the reason why they are migrating or immigrating outside of Nigeria. Personally, I don't really buy that fully. Do we need to work on it? Yes, it's a situation that really I don't even know where to start. It is really terrible. But people are migrating because of so many. First of all, I tell you, education is number one. Education is number one. Go to our universities and see how many students in one class, some in the windows on the floor. And I've visited some of these, classrooms. It's really something else. right? And then you talk about the aspect of, once again, like what I said earlier, about the number of universities and high institutions that we have compared to, different areas. These are also, major issues. So once again, I'm saying that, yes, insecurity is an issue, but it is not the major reason why people would tell me that they are migrating or immigrating to Canada. They're looking for a better life. They're looking for, high-paid jobs. They're looking for a better education. They're looking, especially people tell me, my kids, my kids, my kids. I want something better for my children, right? So I can buy into that. So there are different reasons. Stat shows there are different situations, economic reasons, insecurity, all this. These are Nigerian factors that we need to address. These are internal issues that we need to take care of, but the aspect of reasons why people are migrating, I would say this, Canada is making migration favorable right now. If it was just few years ago, let me say this, just few years ago when we had a different government, nobody was going into Canada. I can bet you that. Check it a few years ago. The immigration policy with the former government was not favorable for migration. It was tough. But right now, they've made migration or immigration process a little bit easier, and people are coming into from India. But you see, one of the challenges that we have even in the past, Nigeria used to be number 2 in the aspect of education in Canada when it comes to education. We were second to China. And because of the fact that a lot of priorities change, people come because of the economic situation and so many other reasons. Nigerians don't finish. Most of the Nigerians that were coming into to study, we're not finishing the aspect of their education, and that affected. You don't even want to know. I mean, you do stats and poll and all that. Go and check where we are right now. And there are more favorable policies that have been put in place on aspect of education with India, with so many other countries, to make things easy, right, for people to migrate. But still, Nigerians will do what they can, to come in. Canada is considering a lot of other different avenues in seeing ways to make it even easier on the aspect of education for us. So once again, I'm saying, yes, we have insecurity. We have all these other issues that you mentioned. I agree with them. These are internal issues that must be addressed within Nigerian issue to make things more easy and comfortable for Nigerians. But the aspect of migration, anybody that chooses to migrate, you can't stop them. Once it's in their mind to travel, they will do whatever it takes, sell their land, do whatever it takes to travel for their personal reasons, especially the fact on the aspect of remittances. People have helped their families. And so when somebody, a neighbor, sees what is happening, how much the family members of the other neighbors or whoever in the family has been helped, they want to do the same thing. They want to be in a position to contribute to help their family members. And I can tell you, remittances has done a lot in the aspect of lifting families in Nigeria, and diasporans are doing a lot. And I want to put this as a caution. We talk about remittances. Let's understand there's a lot of people, first, second generation, that have traveled or migrated or immigrated to Canada or overseas, that have been helping in the aspect of remittances. The younger generation, some of us, our kids, are born there, and they have no clue what we are talking about. They don't understand the pain, the passion that we saw, that we went through growing up in Nigeria, or what we saw our fathers, our parents, and all that, what they went through. They don't understand that. They don't understand the issues of helping cousins and nieces and nephews and all that stuff. They're having a good time. And if we don't do something about the next generation of our young people, we'll be affected badly in the aspect of remittances that are coming into Nigeria. And we need to also move away a little bit more to person-to-person remittances, to business remittances, which are key areas that we should focus on, that will not only boost the economy, but create more jobs. Some of these things are some of the things that I'm working on right now. How do we move businesses from here that will expand into Canada, for example? Right? How do we move more businesses from Canada into here that will create more jobs here and bring more of that money into this place, or vice versa? We need to see more ways of this remittances in more economic aspect of it to help balance the equation of what we are talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you. I saw Dr. Bassi nodding when you were making your points. I'd like to allow Dr. Bassi just react to that. Can you give a brief response to that before we go take comments from other participants? Dr. Bassi.
Thank you very much. I think I agree with what the ambassador has said 100%, because I've seen from some of our interactions in NIDCOM, people selling their houses and assets in order to immigrate out of Nigeria. And the kind of assets they carry out of Nigeria could establish them here if they remain here. But like I said, migration is a huge topic that you cannot constrain either by simple logic or by legislation. And like he said, we expect people from Borno State, for example, where the Boko Haram issue is, to be in the forefront of migrating out of Nigeria, but they are not. They are not migrating anywhere, and they are still establishing their businesses in places that are less prone to insecurity and are still prospering in country. So that is the point I was making. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you. At this point, I want to take comments from participants who have joined us from within and outside the country. I understand we have Mr. Kunle Odonye there. Mr. Kunle Odonye, if you're there, can you mute yourself and just let's have your thoughts briefly.
Good morning, good morning, everybody, and thanks for this platform. My greetings to the panelists and distinguished guests. Well, I tend to agree with what everyone else has said, because personally, I was a professional in Nigeria too. I've been studied in the UK and then gone back to Nigeria with the hopes of making a difference. But as a matter of fact, I think in 2016, I was one of the finalists for the YESP entrepreneurial scheme, one of the first finalists, but at some point, I think the frustrations got the better of me. Unfortunately for me, insecurity wasn't an issue where I was, but it was more or less of the platform to be able to do the things I wanted to do, right? I'm a student of history and international conflict analysis, and I just felt there was more to living, there was more to making a better society, which unfortunately the grounds were not just being allowed to be tread on, and that was one of the major reasons why I decided to, go with my family of two, myself, my wife, and two kids, but coming here, as Azumi and Mariana and every other person in Canada said, it's about stooping low to conquer, right? As long as you have the skills, you have the mindset, definitely you are going to excel, and that's what I find. I find that chances are being given to people who are ready to take the chances, I included as one of them. But honestly, deep down, Nigerian man in me is still in Nigeria, right? But it's just, when can those things be done? Coming here, just about 2 years here now, but I've been able to do things I always dreamt of doing in Nigeria, forming a society, starting up social ideas that will bring people together and make differences in the life of individuals. I've been able to do a couple of them here, and I'm still running a few by the side, despite my 9 to 5, right? But I'm just saying that we haven't forgotten home. I don't think we will. I mean, for confidentiality's sake, I can't say where I was working in Nigeria, right? But I've been among the top parts, and yes, as the ambassador has said, implementation is key, but I find giving the right people, give them the right chances to make those things. Chances are not given to those who, I think, in my own perspective, are able to make those things right. And so here we are going in circles talking about these. I've been talking about this since I was in school and university, in my master's, and I'm here again 10 years afterwards, still talking about the same circle. So for those who want to come, well, the ground or the sky is your limit. And those who want to stay, I still think we all stay or we all go for different reasons anyway. I'm just going to put it up there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Adonye. I also understand we have Olufunke, who's a student studying in Canada. Olufunke, are you there? Olufunke, please. She there? Okay, if Olufunke is not around at the moment, we can take Mr. Anointing Momo. Anointing just mentioned the fact that, I beg to differ with the point on people in crisis-ridden areas not migrating. They are in Chad and Niger, in IDP camps in several other parts of Nigeria. They are migrating as well, but they can't afford a longer distance travel. Insecurity is definitely a driver of migration from the country. That's the opinion of Mr. Anointing there. We also have Mr. Abiodun Odewale, who said, even though migration comes with so many anxieties, the benefits outweigh the demerits. Refugees and the so-called citizens in Nigeria. Location has a lot to do with destiny. According to the recent data from NBS, over 80 million people are poor in Nigeria, living less than $1 a day. Those are destinies being wasted. Average minimum wage in Canada is $12 an hour. Think about it. So, do we have Olufunke available now? Mr. Ejike Obosi says, as we have seen, there is a great disconnect from the viewpoint of employers. Employers do not fully understand credentials of prospective migrants that seek for jobs. Due to this, immigrants get to Canada and end up in workplace with lower jobs below their expectations compared to their really sad. Another downside is professions with licenses not recognized find it very expensive to upgrade and end up dropping their chosen careers and be one frustrated, thereby acquiring different skills or pursuing a different career path. Okay, my name is Fumi. I was once a diaspora before I relocated back to, I would like to contribute. Excellent. Fumi, can we please have you contribute? Let's have your opinion.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Fumi Komalafe. I was born and bred in Kano, and I will rule out completely the insecurity as why people relocate. I left Nigeria for Ireland in 2003, and I lied completely that it was because of insecurity that I was seeking for asylum. Eventually, I wasn't granted asylum because of insecurity, because they felt that if I am a Yoruba girl, I was born and bred in Kano, if I left Kano to Ireland because of insecurity, then I should be 100% Hausa. Why I relocated was because
We can't hear you. We've lost you. You're muted, so kindly unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. You say why you relocated.
Okay, I relocated because I want better life for my kids. I knew from the onset that when I want to start having children, I was going to have my children abroad. My mom had me in Nigeria through CS. And basically, I was just scared. I knew I was going to go through the same process. From age 12, I said to myself, I will have CS as well because of my height. Now, that was why I left Nigeria. I was born and bred in Kano. I didn't leave because of the insecurity, because of the riots. Because before we had Boko Haram, there were riots, religious riots back and forth. When I sought for asylum, I wasn't even granted asylum because of the insecurity in Kano at the time. They felt that I'm a Yoruba girl. If they were going to give anybody asylum, the person has to be 100% Hausas. Because if the Hausas are not migrating from the insecurity zone, then insecurity should not be on the list. Everybody had their reasons why they migrated. Now, I need to tell you my experience relocating back to Nigeria. This is something that makes me cry every day. When you relocate back to Nigeria as a diaspora, be ready for so many things. People think you're coming to get their jobs. People think because you have the skills, you have the experience, you are coming to take their, they're not even happy that you are relocating. They look at you like an outcast. I mean, like a lady said, when she got to Canada, she had to do some other courses. I had first degree in Nigeria. I went to Ireland. I did so many courses. Currently, I have 2 masters. I went somewhere for an interview here in Nigeria. Some short courses, a short course of 6 months is even better than a 4-year degree. But because they don't even know the meaning in Nigeria, that's the problem. The person that interviewed me threw my certificates away, about 6 of them, telling me that this is what is not needed. I need your first degree. I told him my short courses certificate meant a lot to me than my first degree. Another thing is the job. When you went abroad, they will ask you to start from the scratch, which was something I did. But I had my eyes on something. I said I was going to work for one of the Fortune 500 companies of the world. I was going to get my red P. I needed my red P as anything. I wanted to do shakara with that red P from the family I came from, and then I'll come back to Nigeria because there's no place like home. My kids are in Ireland. They study every day virtually. Sometimes I even log into their class to, do classes with them. It makes me cry. My mom is there with my kids. I am here in Nigeria to give back to the community. I was earning 1,500 euros while working for them every month. But I saw something in my nation. I have a belief in this country. Like Dr. Adeola said, no Nigerian university has contacted her. Through me, there are so many Nigerians that have gone to Ireland to study. Some don't come back, some come back. What I'm saying is you, as a whole, you have to even come to Nigeria. Now let's leave the virtual aspect. NITCOM is a very great place. I'm proud to have the chairman as somebody that has a good vision. I'm proud to have Dr. Bassi as somebody that has good vision. You people need to come, we need to sit down and let the government know that so many things is just wrong. So many things is wrong. I work for NITCOM.
Thank you.
I see myself, all right.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Thank you. I want to go back to the panelists now as we begin to round off this session. Our time is fast spent. I want to go back to Adi. Adi, there are a number of points that have been raised by Fumi in this her last comments, talking about the Nigerian systems not being receptive to some of the ideas or some of the thoughts from abroad. How can we bridge this gap? How can we be able to have a situation where universities, for example, can recognize talents that are out there and be able to engage them in such a productive manner to benefit not just the university, but the country at large? Adi.
Thank you very much for this platform. So I want to say about 2 years ago, the Nigerian government asked me to come home and sit on an education reform panel to talk about where are we going and how can we leverage Industry 4.0. I got an opportunity to meet key members of TED Fund, like the executive secretary, key members of NUC. and our NUC secretary. I met the ministers of education and science and technology. We talk and talk and talk, got rounds of applause. You are wonderful. Nothing came out of that. Nothing. Nothing. Those are the most powerful people who are helm of education of Nigeria. They're listening to this. Nothing came out of that. I left my job to come home for 2 weeks, not paid any honorarium because of passion to help our country grow. 2 weeks, stayed in a hotel, they booked me a flight, they booked me the ticket. They brought me there. We highlighted all the problems. I put a proposal forward for additive manufacturing adoption for our universities. It did not happen, sir. If you are thinking, because I'm just here wondering, all of this, I still have several proposals. How can we adopt those different technologies? How can we bridge the gap? How can we build a bridge between diaspora and Nigeria? I wrote proposals for these things. They have not been adopted. I talked to the highest level of office responsible for science and technology development for our country, for education. Nothing happened. I am, as a Nigerian diaspora, I am not hungry, but I have gotten to a point where I know that I cannot change my name. I cannot change the color of my skin. No matter how far I go, people are going to realize I'm Nigerian. If my country is not adopting Industry 4.0 technology, I am ashamed, no matter where I go. I'm ashamed for my country. We need platforms like yours to help hold government accountable. We need platform like yours to build the bridge between diaspora and all these government people that we're going to shake their hands. I don't want to shake anybody's hands anymore. We need a bridge. But without that bridge, it's hard. We can't get anything done. We'll just have table, we'll talk, we'll submit proposals, nothing's gonna happen. Now, as someone who is passionate, I work fully remote. I could take my laptop and come home to Nigeria, still be working for the company I work for, and still deliver value for Nigeria. My biggest fear is that I do not fit in anymore. I do not fit in. Every time when I come home, when I discuss my ideas, people look at me like I'm crazy. People just wonder that I don't know the system enough. They felt like I'm like 40 years ahead. So all the things I'm saying we have to implement is not going to work. So how can we get free? Help people like me realize, okay, this is where Nigeria is at. You're like 40 years ahead. Let's take you back to your 10 years ago. And that's where we want you to start from. Because I feel like some of us are just so ahead that if you bring me back home, I can't do anything because I just don't fit in anymore. We need that bridge. Again, that bridge to help us realize, where is Nigeria today? Where can we in the diaspora really come in and helping us understand the situation? So when we come in, we are not appearing like people that people just feel like they don't understand us, they can't use our knowledge and things like that. Number 3 is this. There is patriarchy problem in Nigeria, and there is problem that has to do with age. When people want to talk, they're expecting that I am 45 or 60 to be valuable. I am not 45. I am 36. I'm going to be 36 tomorrow. But guess what? I am an Industry 4.0 leader. My name carries weight in Canada, in the US, everywhere. Additive manufacturing is what I do. If my country wants to adopt that, they have to be open to a woman, a young woman leading that, and accord me the same respect that they will give Professor Bell. And not remove it behind because I went to school for that. And not believe that because I am the age of their daughter, that they have to just, diminish the knowledge that I carry that the country truly need. We need to put aside a little bit of patriarchy and be ready for young people to lead and be really meaning that for you.
Thank you very much, Adi, and suffice to say, a very happy birthday to you from all of us at Africa Polling Institute. Congratulations, happy birthday. I'll be back to Azumi. Now, Azumi, what are your thoughts? And how can we help create a better bridge between Canada and Nigeria? Where are the gaps? How can we close these gaps that exist? Azumi.
I don't think that we should be talking about where the gaps are, in a sense, because I feel like we all know where these gaps are. We have these conversations over and again, and like Dr. Adi said, there's been policies and proposals and all of these things that we've talked about, spoken about, written about, blogged about, made videos about. So I don't think that we don't know what the problem is. The problem is that we're not actively implementing the changes that we want to see. And there are different factors that hinder us implementing this change. Implementing I think it was the ambassador who mentioned earlier about implementing policies. It's one thing to write policies. You could get really good people to write you scholarly policies. And if you don't, that's where the crux of the matter is in the implementation. And that's why sometimes some people say that culture eats strategy for breakfast. This, referring again to what Dr. Adi said, there is a culture that makes it hard to implement. There is a culture that is unaccepting of something that is different that they're not used to. There's a culture, and I don't just mean culture in the sense of tribal culture. I mean the workplace culture, the professional culture. It's unaccepting of young people, young women. It's like, you were born yesterday, what do you know? Well, I do know something. And then I'd rather go somewhere where my value is accepted and acknowledged, regardless of the color of my skin, my reproductive system, or whatever, all those other factors are. So that's the problem. We need to be implementing. I missed a bit of what the lady, I think her name is Fumi, was talking about. Those are just examples of I wish, in my own opinion, I think that we need to take one thing, focus on it, fix it, and then move on to the next thing. Because if we're trying to fix everything that's wrong with Nigeria, and we want to see overnight results, then it's dead on arrival. We're not even going to achieve anything before we get started. But if we take, for example, we take the educational sector. We've talked about it several times on this conversation today. It's sad. I see some pictures of what are supposed to be primary schools, and I'm wondering, how is anybody supposed to learn anything in this environment? It's the way you take a graduate from what is supposed to be the top university in Nigeria, and you hear them speak and you cringe, because you're like, tell me you don't have a degree. You cannot mean that you have a degree, but you can't blame them. The system, and do you know how hard it is to get into those universities that are not optimum? As not so good as those universities are, it's still really hard to get into them. There's people writing JAMB and WAEC and just over and over again to get into those schools, as poorly established as those schools are. And then how do you expect people that graduate from those universities to compete on a global scale? So take the educational sector, fix what needs to be fixed in it. Take insecurity, fix what needs to be fixed in it. Now, when it comes to insecurity, we've had some conversations about why maybe that's not what's driving people, and back and forth and the other. I think the first thing that we need to do is to define insecurity, because when you say insecurity, people think of people on, the problem that people are facing on, in the northern part of Nigeria and all the struggles there. I beg to differ. Insecurity includes that problem. It does, but it goes over and beyond that to people who live everywhere across Nigeria that cannot sleep with their eyes closed. I've experienced robbery in Nigeria twice. I do not wish that experience upon my worst enemy. It was terrible. The first one was, it brings me almost to tears. The first one was maybe 18 years ago or 20 years ago. I live with that memory forever. Please, when we're talking about insecurity, then let's deal with the roads. The roads are not in a good state. So we know these things. I don't want to flog issues that we already know about. I have friends and family in Nigeria that will not travel anywhere if they can't fly. That's how bad the roads are. Not only are the roads bad, because the roads are bad, then there's bandits on the road that are waiting for you so they can get you. So I don't think that we should be talking about what the problem is. We know what the problem is. We were born into this problem, have grown into this problem. We're talking about solutions. Let's start to implement the solutions we're talking about.
Thank you very much, Azumi. I'll come back to Dr. Kunle Ojeleye. Dr. Ojeleye, you did mention that Fumi was raising quite a number of touching points, which you have either experienced or you know people who have experienced that. Can we shed some light, especially as we begin to zoom in more into what government should be doing or what citizens in Nigeria should be doing, to sort of bridge the gap we've been talking about? Dr. Jele.
Thank you, Professor Bell. I think it was 2009 or 2008, I was involved in a collaborative effort with Professor Adepoju and a couple of other people to produce a documentation on how the African countries can actually engage their diaspora in terms of development. It was a work that was done with the Diaspora Institute, a diaspora institute that is based in the Netherlands. And listening to a lot of the submissions today, it's as if the solutions that were recommended in that documentation, particularly in my chapter contribution, are the same kind of issues that we keep talking about, like 13, 14, 15 years after. Take, for instance, I personally, I think it was Azume, I believe, that mentioned the issue of qualified Nigerians being able to go back to Nigeria and to offer their services as and essentially I've mentioned that to a number of key people that I have contact. Sorry?
It was Dr. Lubamiji.
Okay, it was Dr. Yeah, so, and I've mentioned that same kind of suggestion to a number of people that I have, or contacts that I have in high places within the educational system in Nigeria before, probably going back to about 5, 6 years now. And all they said to me was that, hey, Prof, your ideas are fine, but it's not right for Nigeria. Why? No one could explain to me. And essentially, I've offered to return back to Nigeria. When I finished my doctoral work in the UK in 2010, I wanted to go back to Nigeria. I wanted to move back into the academics. I wanted to leave the industry and not just share my knowledge and skills and experiences that I had gained in the industry on the ICT side, on the social housing side, with my country, but also sort of use that in bridging the gap between the academia and the GAN, something that you are currently doing. But you won't believe it. I made applications to so many universities. Maybe today, 13, 14 years after, they will even acknowledge that they received those applications. And that was despite the fact that I was willing to lose 2/3 of the income I was already having in the UK to go back home. So at the end of the day, in fact, one of the reasons why I moved from London or from the UK to Canada was just because I just saw that opportunities were shot against me in Nigeria. I had shipped all my stuff from the UK to Nigeria, but I had to make a fresh start here. And when Fumi was talking about people returning home and being seen as a threat, not just because of maybe knowledge they've acquired, but simply because they've been how they came back and they are sharing their thoughts and whatsoever, I can just identify with that. And as Azume did mention, in regards to insecurity. Insecurity means a lot to so many people. I've run into people here who've had similar robbery experiences. And when I ask them, well, last were you in Nigeria? They would tell me, oh, I've not been in 15 years. Why? Oh, I would never go back to that country. And then they share their experiences. And some of them, up till now, if they hear a slight sound by their doorstep, they are in distress. So we cannot say because insecurity down south is not in the realm of Boko Haram or whatsoever, that people are not suffering or having cases of insecurity that is really, really pushing a lot of these high net worth individuals to say they are moving away from Nigeria. So that's why I referred earlier on into my submissions that government needs to really drill down into why people are moving, and then try to make sure that they make the environment conducive, not just for them to stay, but for people also to return. I would privately share with you some of the documentations over the years, and I think they would sort of give flavor to some of these issues more than what I can share here within the space of like 2, 3, 4 minutes. But the bottom line is, like everybody has said, we need a platform like this, probably with NIDCOM, engaging NIDCOM, that will be able to leverage the Nigerian government to see the benefits in collaborating, and not just collaborating, but listening to his diaspora and trying to use them as effective tools in changing the narrative of the Nigerian political society.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that. And that's why NIDCOM is here. We are collaborating with NIDCOM, and we will continue that collaboration to engage with them to see how we can, how we can push this forward. I guess just in line with your submission, Abiodun Adekunjo Egunjobi said, insecurity is a big issue in Nigeria. I wonder why some of the contributors are denying this fact. Well, that's his position. Naomi Mba says, our leaders pride themselves in ignorance. They've lost touch with reality. What can we say about a government that cannot create jobs for its youth and at the same time is doing everything within its powers to stop them from creating something reasonable for themselves? Anyone denying the fact that insecurity in Nigeria is one of the major factors people are migrating is not being entirely truthful. Thank you very much for that, Naomi Mba. We want to come back to, our time is fast spent now, and we should be rounding up this session within the next 15 minutes. We want to come back to Marina. Now, Marina, we want you to tie up your thoughts in terms of policy. What policy areas or directions would you give as we wrap up this conversation? Marina.
Thank you very much. It's almost difficult to add anything to all the things that have already been said, like the whole insecurity and all of that. Good thing that we've clarified that is a whole range and not just the banditry that's going on up north in Nigeria. I am very pro-Nigeria. It was a tough decision getting me to move out of Nigeria. I gave my husband a hard time. It took months before I finally warmed up to the idea. And why did I warm up to that idea? I had both my children in Nigeria, and till tomorrow, the experiences of having my kids under the circumstances under which I had them still makes me cringe. And we're not doing badly in Nigeria, like we've established here, that the people who are moving are not people who are poor, because immigration it's an expensive process to move from Nigeria. So we're relatively okay. But even with the resources that we had available to us, I still had experiences that I would not like to relive, So talking about our healthcare, like I really just want to see a Nigeria where there's value for my life as a Nigerian. I just want to see a Nigeria where the basics are in place, the basics, barest minimum. There are very, very poor people in Canada. There are poor areas in Canada. But even in those poor places, there's water, there's power, the basic things, there's a roof over people's heads. Those basic things are in place. There is absolutely no reason why in 2021, we're still struggling with some of the things that we struggle with in Nigeria. In 2017, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. There was not one hospital in Nigeria where my mother could have radiotherapy. We went to Ghana. I attended a Ghanaian secondary school in Nigeria, and I remember how difficult it was for Ghanaians living in Nigeria at some point, because it was almost like, go back to your country. But I ended up going to Ghana to get my mother radiotherapy. I eventually lost her to cancer. I did not have to travel outside the shores of my country to get medical help for my mother. There's no reason why a country as big as Nigeria will have the entire country not have one radiotherapy machine that was functional. There's no reason why we lose the number of people we lose to the negligence that we see in our medical field. I have new respect for our doctors, because coming to hospitals here and I see the resources and the equipment that are available for the doctors here to do their jobs, it made me respect the doctors in Nigeria. For them to be able to perform the kind of surgeries they did under very poor conditions with little or no resources, our Nigerian doctors are geniuses. I give it to them. But there's no reason why a doctor has to conduct surgery using the touchlight from a cell phone. That's not supposed to be acceptable anyway. Our healthcare, nothing to write home about. There's no reason why you should have it that bad. Like everybody has said, we have identified the problems. We know what the problems are. Time has come for us to move from talking about the problems to actual implementation. I want to see the Nigerian life is supposed to be more valuable than what it is right now. A couple of years ago in Saskatchewan, there was a bus accident that involved school children who were traveling for a hockey competition. And about 16 people died in that accident. The entire country literally shut down. Canadian flags were flown at half-mast everywhere because 16 people died. 16 in the entire country. But yet in Nigeria, we hear explosion here, explosion there, kidnapping here. And it become like a normal thing. We all just were sad for one day, we scream on Twitter, and then next day, everything goes back to normal. I'm just really sick of that cycle, sick of complaining today. The emotional turmoil is a lot. Even for me here, those things affect me. There are sometimes I have to literally go on social media and mute some things so I don't see it. It makes me really sad. I'm pro-Nigeria, like I said. The fact that I'm a Canadian citizen now has not reduced me being Nigerian. Nothing is ever going to change that. But it makes me ashamed that in 2021, I'm still talking about a Nigeria where there's no stable power, or where people can't drive you can't drive from one state to another and not be afraid of the car holes because they're bigger than ports, what we have on the road. We can't because you're afraid, you're scared. I just want to see a Nigeria that works, a Nigeria where there's value for me as a Nigerian. I want a Nigeria that I can talk to my children about and they will not be embarrassed to be associated with that. That's what I'd like to see going forward.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thanks for that final thoughts from you. Just in line with your thoughts, Joseph Bitrus said, yes, I want to see a Nigeria where the basics are available. Wumi Olusegun says, our healthcare system is nothing to write home about. I lost my aunt who was asthmatic last year for lack of oxygen in the hospital. She wasn't accepted into the ward. She died in her husband's arm. I'm quite unfortunate. We're sorry about Wumi. Samuel Adepeju says, as a security personnel, I would tell you categorically that there's no security for the common man in the country. Those are various thoughts from other participants. We want to give Ambassador Kalu the last shot. Ambassador, in terms of your thoughts, what are your last thoughts about this? Of course, this is an ongoing conversation, but as we round off this session today, what are your thoughts, especially in terms of what policies should the government be focusing on and what should citizens be doing to also contribute to helping the country develop?
Once again, thank you so very much, Professor. I want to thank you for really putting this together and your team. And I want to thank, once again, all the participants for really sharing their mind. Once again, I want to say this, I don't think the aspect of policy is really an issue because I've been involved. I come into Nigeria a lot. I communicate from the highest level and see the policies that we have, just like I said earlier, is the aspect of implementation, which we need to continue to talk about. We need to continue to address. It's not that we don't have, Nigerians are smart. We have experts. When it comes to governments, I can tell you, they can put together the best policy in the world. We have it. Different ideas, different programs. So at this point, even sharing the aspect of insecurity as we talked about, I've been also a serious victim. I mean, based on what even I experienced, the attack that I had by armed robbers and bandits, and my cousin was shot terribly, together, coming into the country, emergency had to fly him out of the country, it was in Netherlands that we were able to land, and he was, treated and all that. Even getting in Nigeria police clearance for being attacked on the road to even go to the hospital was another story. Just simple as that. So I understand all these issues, but once again, this is our country. You cannot change a system out from within the system. We cannot change things by not being part of the country that we love. I know it's tough, I know it's challenging, but that's why I keep coming. Diasporas, regardless, irrespective of the challenges that you might be having, please don't give up on our wonderful country, Nigeria. Continue what you're doing. We applaud you. We appreciate you. We're all going through the same thing. I think one of the speakers said it earlier. I can tell you how many years, almost 3 decades, that I've been away, going in and coming into the country. I can still tell you that almost similar issues, even those days we don't have those other issues as bad as they are right now. They're really that we cannot stop immigration. We cannot stop, all the things that we are discussing right now. Let us focus on the solution. It's tough. It's tough, but we just can't stop discussing the aspect of policy. I'm involved in the policy. I've been discussing with our government from the federal government level to state level to all various levels. Don't forget also I'm involved with the African Union in the aspect of policy as well. And so there's a lot that we are doing to help change the narrative. But we need to continue to encourage ourselves, speak on the areas that we are doing well as well. Let us applaud ourselves on the areas that we are doing well. It's not all too bad all the way. There are still areas that we are doing okay. And I think we need to talk about those areas and encourage ourselves. So I want to please plead with my fellow diasporans to say, please don't give up on us. Don't give up on your country. Let's continue to put the pressure on our government and see how much we can do in bringing the change that we're looking for. Once again, thank you so very much for the opportunity, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thanks for that closing shot. As we round off, I want to use this opportunity once again to thank the Secretary of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Engineer Dr. Sule Basi. I want to say thank you very much for participating. I also want to thank the representative of the Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ms. Kerry Greenhoff, Program Manager, Immigration at the Canada High Commission. I want to also thank all our panelists, Ambassador Macaulay Kalu, Dr. Adiola Olubamiji, Azumi Degun, Dr. Olukunle Ojeleye, and Marina Esiri Iyeme Eten. Thank you very much for this conversation. It's not over yet. It's still an ongoing conversation. We'll continue this on our social media platforms, and we'll continue engaging. We'll continue engaging NIDCOM to see how we can deepen this conversation further. At the moment, I want to pass on to my colleague, Olubenga Ogumefun, to please give us the closing remarks of vote of thanks. Benga. Benga, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Professor Bell. I really want to appreciate
We can hear you.
Everybody as taking a list and representative of the government. Like Dr. Isen said, the brain drain really has to really want to encourage the government to really do the needful and keen, particularly the areas in which citizens abroad.
I think Benga
passion is there, but they cannot come in when there is opportunity for them to use to. They are willing, the government encourage all the ministries, departments, agencies to reach out and meet them.
Okay, I want to seize this opportunity once again to thank everyone. Our time is fast spent. We are 14 minutes past our scheduled time. We are very serious professionals and we don't want to keep our guests waiting. Thank you to our special guests. Thank you to our panelists. Until we do this next time, God bless you. Bye for now.